It's Divas That Care Radio. Stories, strategies, and ideas to inspire positive change. Welcome to Divas That Care, a network of women committed to making our world a better place for everyone. This is a global movement for women, by women, engaged in a collaborative effort to create a better world for future generations. To find out more about the movement, visit divasthatcare.com after the show. Right now, though, stay tuned for another jolt of inspiration.
Hello to all. Welcome to Divas That Care Network. I am Joyce Benning, and I will be your host for this just very invigorating, robust lifestyle show. I would like to thank each one of our listeners that have tuned in live today and the ones that will be listening to the recording on the podcast. I am just so very grateful for each one of you. And you are all in for such a treat today because I have my monthly returning diva, Deb Matlock. And I am just so excited today. We are going to have our final talk on sacred nature connections. Oh, it's going to be great. So you're in for a treat, all you listeners. And Deb, could you please introduce yourself to our listeners today?
You bet. Yes, thank you so much for having me on again. As Joyce said, I'm Deb Matlock. I'm coming to you all from Colorado in the United States. And I have a small business called Wild Rhythms, where the focus is on nurturing and developing our sacred connection to earth, animals, and the world of spirit. And I do a particular focus on professional trainings for people who want to bring some of that work into what they offer in the world, whether they're educators or healers or coaches or, all kinds of professionals, that want to bring nature connection work into what they do. So this sacred nature connection conversation is really near and dear to my heart for sure.
Oh, definitely. It's your passion because it's what you do on a daily basis. And I love that. That is just beautiful. Yeah, your website. I just love your website, Sacred Animal Communication for People and Sacred Connections. And that's what it's all about. Live deeply connected to earth, animals, and spirits. So, it is just beautiful. Your website is very, very nice. It's where a lot of people can find out a lot of information about how to do this sacred nature connection and how they connect deeper.
Thank you.
You're so welcome, Deb. And as we have talked a lot here the last few months about sacred nature connection, and we just kind of have talked about different things. And this week, as we wrap it up for this topic, for now anyway, I know we can go into even more later on, but as for now, we were going to talk about cultivating awe. Now, what would you explain to our listeners as cultivating awe?
I have to say, this is going to be cheesy, but this is an awesome topic. And the reason I want to start there is because, we hear the word awesome a lot. I hear it with young people, with older people. It's one of those words that's kind of claimed a space in our language. It can be, oh, that's an awesome sunset, or, oh, that was awesome. I made that green light. It's like all these different levels of awesome and of what awe means. But I think when we actually stop and ask ourselves, what is awe? I think of it as that thing that makes me pause, something that makes me go, oh, my goodness, that is incredible. What an amazing thing. What a miracle. What a mind-blowing idea. What a simple moment during the day that just gives me a moment where my heart flutters. And so I think that the starting point for this conversation is really for each of us to reflect on, what would we consider, something that is awe-inspiring for us. And knowing that there's a million ways for that to show up in our days. And so I think just being aware of that idea for starters is a launching point for this.
Oh, I so agree because like you said, the word awesome is used so many times in so many different ways. And just some things that came to my mind as you were talking about that. We have had a lot of wind here in Kansas, which I know a lot of people have had here this spring. And I'm just in awe when I see the birds flying in all that wind and how they're even flying into the wind. And I'm like, how can that be? I can hardly walk sometimes on the ground. How could they be up there in the air? It just puts me in awe. And some of those things I think about, and the green, how the trees are greening up again and the flowers are coming, and I'm just in awe of the beauty that it brings to the earth when this happens. So those are just a couple things that came to my mind as you were talking about the word awe and awesome.
Well, and I love that as a starting conversation point, because when I think of awe, I think one of the things that really helps for us as humans is to think of it on scale, from the micro, tiniest little things in our daily life to the macro, the things that might happen once or twice in our lifetimes, or, a phenomenon that we experience one time. And like the birds flying on the wind is completely awe-inspiring and awesome. It's like what their bodies, how their bodies are created to allow them to be able to float like that and fly, with hollow bones, for example, and the way that their feathers and just their structure and their wings and all the things that allow for their flight. And, I mean, I've seen hawks around here. It seems to me like they're playing on those wind thermals. They'll get in and kind of spiral in a circle and then fly out and then fly back in. And, it's so beautiful to watch, and it's something that I absolutely cannot physically do. There's nothing I can do. For a human to do that, we have to add contraptions. We either have to be in a plane or with hang gliding, equipment. We can't do it with our bodies. And so that's awesome. And yet it also happens all the time around all of us. Birds doing their amazing things. It's just, if we open our eyes to it and realize just how incredibly cool it is, it's like, wow, and the fact that we're here together with these beings that live so differently is pretty amazing. It's just amazing to me. So that's that's a perfect example of something that you see on a regular basis, but yet is completely miraculous.
Oh, I so agree. And I like what you said, too. I mean, sometimes I think people, as humans, think it has to be something really big, where if you just stop each day and look at the little things, you will more than likely find something that you say, that is awesome. And sometimes it's the little things that really count. The big things are great, but if you wait and wait and wait for that great big thing to be able to say that's awesome, you've missed all the little things in between. And that's kind of how I look at it. How do you feel about that?
I think I 100% agree. I think, when we're only looking for the awesome things, we also take a little bit of the awesome, like, big things, the big, like, wow. I've never seen that before, and I'll never see it again, those kind of moments. I think we kind of take a little bit of the sacred out of our days, because it's not that those big things aren't amazing, and things that will change us and transform us and really get into our hearts and souls. But the sacredness of life around us all the time is I think it can help us root deeply into our places and into our sense of spirituality, however that looks for all of us, whether it's a deeply religious spirituality or it's a philosophical. I mean, that's the beauty of that, is that those daily miracles, those daily awarenesses, I think, are such beautiful windows into seeing ourselves as part of something so much bigger than us and such a big and beautiful mystery. I mean, I certainly don't know how to create, so many different kinds of birds, like, to go back to what we were just talking about, all over the world, all doing, it's just, I'm losing words for a second there because it's so awesome. It's so amazing.
I know. I hear you completely, because it's just like, well, they call them cardinals, but I call them redbirds, and their music is just beautiful, and how they can sit up in those trees and sing that beautiful tune all the time. And I mean, it to me, every time I hear them, it's an awe moment, because I'm like, oh, that is just incredible. I just love to listen to them. And the other day there was a blue jay out here, and their colors, and the robins and the birds. We have a lot of birds that like to sit up on top of the cows. And it is so awesome how they just sit there and the cows don't care and the birds are like, this is great. And I'm like, it is just, I'm just always in amazement of all the little things like that, of how beautiful nature is when you take a look around it. Because I love nature and I'm in nature all the time. And it's just, even like with the baby calves, I've been around cattle all my life. And every time a new baby calf is born, I'm like, oh my goodness, look at that new little miracle. And it's just an awe moment.
Yeah, an awe moment. I love that. That's a great phrase, the awe moment, And when we open ourselves up to the idea of letting our life be filled with awe moments and to be in a state of awe of the life around us, every being becomes part of that joy, becomes part of that dance. I think about like earthworms, for example, that a lot of people think are gross or don't even think about. A lot of people know they're important but don't really think about them. But if you actually stop and like look at an earthworm and think about the world that they live in and the amazing role that they play for all of us with our gardens and our fields and keeping our soil healthy and keeping it aerated and allowing us to do the things that we do, growing plants and food and gorgeous flowers and all these things, none of it would be possible without these earthworms. That's pretty awesome. And what they do and how they live is completely foreign to me. I mean, I stand there and watch them, I often will get them off the sidewalk after rain and try to find a place of soil to put them back in. And then watching them kind of work their way back into the soil is completely amazing to me. And it just allows me to sit there and just go, I am not that special as a human. I am one of many special beings as a human. And that to me is part of the sacred nature connection journey, is just saying, wow, we all have roles to play, and they're all really important. And that means humans too. We can do some pretty egregious things, and we can also do some pretty amazing things. And one of the things we get to do is choose.
Right.
And I think the sacred, awesome orientation of looking at life helps us to make some choices that can be very life-affirming.
Oh, how true that is. Oh, that is so true, because, yes, we have the option to make the choices. And we said, if you just take that moment, or even seconds, even like looking up into the sky, which all of us can do, and seeing the different formation of the clouds, or how bright the sun is shining, or in the evening how beautiful the moon is, how it's positioned. And it's, to me, those are awe moments if you just take the time and look. And I mean, it's just, they're right there in front of us, and they all play a part, and we all make that full circle to live together on this earth. And that, to me, is what is so incredible. That's an awe moment, that we all can play our part to live together and help one another out in that way, like you talked about the earthworms and with the sky, and when we do get some rains and how it replenishes the earth. And it's just all part of a full circle, a web of working everything together.
Yeah, and what I love about that is it really exemplifies how, to use an ecological term, we each have a niche. We each have a role to play. And so whether somebody's got a desire in their heart to do, community gardens, or work with children, or work with elders, or create food for their communities, farm and ranching, there's so many roles. Educating and medical. I mean, like, if we can all accept that, what we're feeling called and what's pulling us in life, is a role, that we're playing, just like the earthworm, just like the birds, just like the coyotes, just like the trees and the plants. I mean, boy, you look at the role of plants after a forest fire, where the plants have been cleared off a landscape. If rain comes quickly after that, then you've got mudslides and all these things going on, because the plants have an incredible role of holding the soil on the side of the mountain here in Colorado. It's like we can take for granted these roles, but they actually are so critical. And if we also look at ourselves as part of it, then there's so much beauty in that. There's so many beautiful things we can offer and share and do to build our communities. in such beautiful ways that are just so wild and natural, and in my mind, part of that sacred nature connection.
Oh, yes. Yes, it all weaves together into that sacred nature connection. Each one of us has our role, and just like the animals and the plants and the trees and the air, the sky, I mean, it all weaves together to make it what it is. And that is just beautiful. And it's just realizing those little awe things, even like in the mornings when the sun comes up. I've seen it all the time, but every morning it's like, oh, wow, there's the sun when it comes up. And it's like, there's another awe moment, or the beautiful sunsets. So it's just taking those little things. To me, it's the little things that add up to the big things. And that's what I love to do, is just take a moment each time and look at the little awes in the world rather than focusing on a big one.
And you know what's so cool about that is that there are literally never two sunsets, for example, that are the same ever. You know, you can sit in the exact chair on your back patio or whatever, facing the exact direction, you know, not even touching the chair, same angle, everything, at the exact time each day, and it will never look the same. And to me, it's like live theater. You know, it's like it's a miraculous, beautiful, amazing thing that we get to have that awesome experience, and all we have to do is be open to it. That's all we have to do is say, I'm going to allow myself to bathe in the awe of life today, and just let myself be surprised by things, and let myself be, you know, my curiosity be awakened, and my heart kind of let it just be, you know, opened up and bursted open with the beauty of something, or the incredibleness of all of a sudden I'm watching a bird at my feet or sharing food with one of, you know, her babies, and I'm just going to let that weave its way into my heart for a minute. And not just think of it as the backdrop to everything else I'm doing, you know?
Kind of like, I'm going to put down my to-do list for just a second and enjoy this moment and see what nature brings to me, or what my eyes bring to me that maybe I have been looking at and didn't see it as an awe moment. But when I really focus on it and go, wow, that is incredible. And sometimes that's all it takes. And it's amazing for myself what it does for your attitude, for how you feel, your perspective on the day. It's just kind of like, oh, wow, that was gorgeous. Thank you for giving me that moment to see something like that. And it's kind of like gratitude. I mean, it's being grateful for being able to experience something so small like that. And it is amazing for myself how it will change my whole day. And I love that, for just taking that moment and being grateful for it.
Oh, and I think you bring up a super important point, which is that, you know, you're mentioning how it changes how you feel and it changes your day. And then this kind of thing, I would agree, same for me. And it changes the way that I interact with others, other animals, other people, the world around me. You know, so like the ripple effect of allowing ourselves to be amazed and to just witness the miracle of life and just take the moment to feel the awe. I think the ripple effect is that it can create in the world, you know, we're better people. We treat each other better. We behave, you know, are we calmer than when that person is cuts us off in traffic? Are we calmer when we're waiting in line at the grocery store and the person in front of us is on their phone and, you know, slowing up the line? You know, are we able to sort of extend that respect, that gratitude, that sense of awe to the things in our life that we don't like? You know, like it's not awesome when our dogs get sick in the middle of the night and we get woken up and there's a mess to clean up and we got to get outside and of course we want to care for them and help them, but then, okay, it's all part of this awesome process, you know, and if we can allow ourselves to see the beauty of just being able to be there with them in that moment. And yeah, it's not fun to clean things off the carpet at 2 a.m. I've been there, you know, it's not a pleasant thing, but it's just part of it, you know, and does it allow us that compassion for each other and that tolerance for each other? Does it allow us to see that miraculous spark of life, you know, in a person that maybe we don't agree with or that has a different belief system than us? Does it allow a foundation for a compassionate, peaceful way of existing? I don't know. I like to think it does.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I do too. I agree with you so much. And like you said with your dog, or if it's a cat or whatever, the appreciation that they feel for you taking care of them. And I mean, it's the same thing in, like you said, waiting in line at the grocery store, or if you've got a cart full and somebody behind you has 2 items and you say, go ahead and go in front of me, or it's okay, just take your time, I'm in no hurry. And it is amazing the response you get. Normally, they will smile back. And I mean, to me, that says so much of how they appreciated it, just like your animal did when you cleaned up after them. And it's those little things, or telling maybe someone in the store that's you can tell they're having a struggling day, or maybe they're new at their job and they're struggling at it, to say, hey, it's okay, I understand, been there, done that. So it's just letting people know that you do care and that you do understand in the situation that maybe they're in, like I said, starting a new job or something like that, at the bank or at the grocery store or somewhere. So it's just having that compassion and being able to understand and put your to-do and your busyness kind of to the side and think of someone else. And to me, that it just makes your day as well as helping make their day better, is how I always feel.
Yeah, and I love that example of the new job, because I've seen that before, where some poor person is just flustered and stressed out, and it's all it takes is saying, oh, yeah. It always takes a long time to get, because I've been there. I've been in exactly that place, and it's not comfortable, especially if somebody's being rude and obnoxious. And like, I'm sorry, I'm doing the best I can. You need to calm down, because, I'm trying not to mess this brand new thing up that I'm doing. And I think we can extend that to the life around us, the non-human life around us, too. I do a lot of volunteer work with dog rescue and talking with new adopters. And one of the things I say often over and over again is, okay, let's take a minute and just imagine what it would feel like to be in your dog's position. Brand new home, brand new people, brand new stimulus everywhere. And, of course, your dog's not going to understand all the things that you have to just calmly and say, okay, if it were me and I just lost everything that I ever knew and got dropped into an entirely new environment, how would I be handling it? And it's like it allows that compassion. And I think it comes from being able to look at our dog, like in this case, and seeing a living, the amazingness of that being. And saying, okay, right, you're not on our schedule yet. That's cool. We'll get there. You're used to going outside at 3 in the morning. We'd like to try to do that at 6. So we're going to move it up a little bit each night until we get there, We're just going to work compassionately. And I think, I love your example of just how do we have that patience for each other, knowing that we're all in it. We're all doing all the same things. We've all got that time where we're really good at something and a time where we're brand new. We've all got the dog that's been ours in our family for years, who's super well adjusted, and then the brand new one that, can be challenging at the beginning as we're just trying to get to know each other. And, I think that's, compassion at the root of sacred nature connection.
Oh, yes. I totally agree with that, and how true it is just to realize that they're a living soul too, and they have feelings too, and the animals are just like the people. They understand what you're saying. It's like you said, putting them in a whole new environment. I mean, how do I react when I'm in a whole new environment? Not the same as I do when I'm in my comfort environment. So you have to think about it that way, too. That was a great example with working with rescues and different things when you're talking to people that are looking at adopting one, not to expect the miracle to happen and them to be the perfect dog or cat that they think they should be on the first night, because it's kind of like bringing a new baby home. They're not going to probably sleep through the whole night.
That's right. I've definitely heard from more new parents like, oh my gosh, what just happened to my life, But then you fast forward, a few months and it's a different tune, So a different question of what just happened to my life.
And how true it is that it's the same. I always compare it a lot to the animals too. It's a whole new life. It's just like the new baby calves. When the first time when we come out to feed that first day, they're like, "What's that? What are they doing?" And the rest of the calves are like, "Oh, this is old stuff." So everything is brand new to them. So you just have to respect that and just let them kind of get used to everything in the environment. And it's amazing how they adapt, and the animals and people too. I mean, it's kind of an awe. Oh my. Think back to when the calves were just born, how they reacted, and now they're laying there like, yeah, no big deal. They're just coming out to feed us. We're fine right here.
Yeah, and I think, I know we've talked about compassion in one of our previous discussions on sacred nature connection, but what I love is how this is wrapping it all. All the pieces go together, and we've talked about empathy and compassion and being open to communicating with the wild nature and the non-human world, and respect. And I think that awe kind of forms the foundation for a lot of that, because they all weave together, but awe is sort of, I think, for a lot of us, a door opener to get into those places of compassion and respect, and being open to see the viewpoints of another, and all the things we're kind of talking. I love how it's kind of going full circle here as we wrap up this particular series of conversations, because if we start with that awe, that openness to miracles, that just willingness to be amazed by all the different ways that life exists around us, I think it just opens the door to us to just really dig into our souls and say, wow, if I live from that orientation, if I live from that space, I won't miss as much. I will really see a lot of miracles and a lot of amazing things that I would have easily missed. Enrich our own life that way. And B, I will be able to function in this world in a way that is just what the world needs. That compassion and respect, empathy, Boy, we sure could use I probably can't have too much of those things, in my opinion.
I agree 100%. Oh, wow. That was a great way to wrap it all up together and show how we all intertwine together in this web of life. That was incredible. I loved it, Deb. Well, this interview went way too fast, like I knew it would, because I love this topic. I think we could talk for months on sacred nature connection. It is just there's so many different points to bring into it, and I just loved every moment of it. And you have I talked in the beginning about your beautiful website. Would you share just a moment about how our listeners can connect with you and how they can get to your website, and just a little bit about what you have to offer to help our listeners also on this sacred nature connection?
Absolutely. Yeah, my website address is wild-rhythms.com. And if you head over there, you'll be able to join my email list and also see offerings and upcoming events and programs. And I've also got a Facebook group that people are very welcome to join. It's called Sacred Connection, Earth, Animals, and Spirit. And so you're welcome to head to Facebook if you're a Facebook user. And, we just share articles and inspirations and poems. And, it's become a really beautiful space of sharing and inspiring each other on a sacred nature journey, sacred connection journey. And, I would just love to chat with anybody who's interested. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm happy to, I also do a lot of work with practitioners, people who are wanting to weave some of this kind of stuff into what they offer to their clients and communities. And it gets me really excited to sort of brainstorm with folks how that might look. And so I've got some trainings, throughout the year for folks in that category as well. So I'd be happy to chat with anybody who's got questions or wants to chat further.
Oh, thank you so much, Deb, for giving that information, and we will definitely post your links with this interview also. And I just want to thank you for being my monthly guest and this great topic that we've been talking about and how we all wrapped it together. Thank you so much, Deb, and you have a magical day today.
Oh, likewise. Yes, thank you.
You are so welcome. And I would like all of our listeners for listening to this absolutely amazing interview with our incredible diva, Deb Matlock. Please share this show with all your family and friends, and check out all the other hosts and their shows on divasthatcare.com. Wishing each one of you a magical day. And remember, just take a moment and be open to see the miracles and the awe around you today. And be kind to all. Give your animals a hug and share your love with them. Until we connect again on Robust Lifestyles, stay strong and healthy.
Thanks for listening. This show was brought to you by Divas That Care. Connect with us on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course on divasthatcare.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter so you don't miss a thing.